German army is known for two things, their tanks and their small arms, and armored infantry are kind of those two things put together, right? Germany has two infantry branches. The first is the infantry, covering the paratroopers of the Fallschirmjäger, the mountain infantry of the Gebirgsjäger, and the Jäger who've been mounted in wheeled APCs like the Boxer and Fuchs before it. The second are the Panzergrenadiers, who are mounted in Puma and Marder infantry fighting vehicles in support of tank units. Panzergrenadiers are actually under the Panzertruppen, in which it is co-equal with the Panzertruppe, who operate the tanks. Not confusing at all. The Jäger's Boxers are armed with either a caliber 50 heavy machine gun or 40mm automatic grenade launcher, while the Puma has a 30mm autocannon and the Marder a 20mm. My understanding is that in the future, when they get the Jackal infantry fighting vehicle variant of the Boxer with an unmanned 30mm autocannon turret, not the man turret, the Panzergrenadiers will be the ones to operate it. Although the two have a somewhat different operational role, their squads and platoons are very similar, so it makes sense to compare and contrast in one video. Now, as research for this, I talked to 5 Jäger and Boxer units and 10 Panzergrenadiers to produce a few squad graphics for Instagram. You should follow me over there, by the way. Being big over there helps me make videos over here. But anyway, I have to say, everything rhymes. No one was like, your graphics are bad and you should feel bad. However, there are a lot of unit-level contradictions in the minute details. I'll bring those up as I go along.
Alright, let's see if German Reddit appreciates the nuance I'm trying to convey. Or probably not.
As they're the most numerous, I'll start with the Panzergrenadier squad. But first, thanks to my patrons and members who make these videos you guys watch possible. This week's featured task force is the Expeditionary Regiment, themed on medium mechanized forces and amphibious operations. Viewer support now makes up the majority of Battle Order's revenue, so I'm making more supporter-exclusive videos on niche topics that don't play well with the algorithm. Supporters also get access to my private Discord where I post research and works in progress every day. Check it out at the link in my description, and I'll see you over there. But back to the Panzergrenadiers. There's actually quite a large modernization gap between those units equipped with Pumas and those still on the Marder, so we'll take them in two parts. Puma units are what the Germans bring out when they want to showcase the fancy IDZ Infantrymen of the Future kit. They got upgraded G36s with newer optics, some new support weapons, and the first unit to receive the new G95 was a Puma unit as well. The squad structure though was identical. Each Panzergrenadier squad consists of 9 personnel split into a 3-man vehicle crew and a 6-man dismounted element called a Schutzentrupp. The squad leader is also the vehicle commander and stays mounted by default. The Puma also has a gunner and driver. The dismounts meanwhile are led by a troop leader who is also the deputy squad leader. They have their own deputy troop leader, machine gunner number 1 and machine gunner number 2, and 2 riflemen. There are no permanent subdivisions within the Schutzentrupp, although they can be task organized into different specialized elements for certain tasks. For example, putting together an assault element or a tank hunting group. As far as small arms, units that have upgraded to the A3 and A4 variant of the G36 generally have shorter G36Ks available. These are intended for the troop leader and the vehicle crew. Technically, the MP7 personal defense weapon is the doctrinal weapon for vehicle crews. However, Puma units especially favor the G36K in this role, and even in Marder units it's pretty mixed on whether the MP7 is used at all. If there are not enough G36Ks available, the gunner and driver can also get a full-length rifle. NCOs get first dibs. In these modernized units, the G36s have a lowered rail allowing them to mount a Hensoldt 4x30 optic with a top-mounted reflex sight to replace the integrated carry handle optics. They also have rail attachment mounts on the handguard for mounting the Rheinmetall Vario Ray laser light module. The deputy troop leader meanwhile has a full-length G36 and a grenade launcher. In Puma units, this is generally an AG-36 mounted under the barrel, officially designated the AG-40-2. The squad automatic is the MG5 General Purpose Machine Gun in 7.62 NATO. MG1 is the gunner, while MG2 is the assistant. Depending on the situation, the MG5 could be subbed out with an MG4 Light Machine Gun in 5.56 NATO, although the MG5 is the default. Situations this could be advantageous include CQB scenarios, or if the squad is being task organized as a dedicated assault element. One respondent also told me that there are cases where the machine gun is left behind entirely, and when that happens, in his unit at least, the MG number 1 takes the vehicle gunner's carbine. I've also been told on a fairly limited basis, but known enough that more than one person told me the exact same thing, that in some units, the MG number 2 is being repurposed as a marksman with a G27P. That's a black HK417A1 with the old school quad rail and the same optic as the MG5. Not the G28, which is a tan HK417A2, which is more of a dedicated sniper's weapon. I'm told that they're thinking of putting the Smash counter-UAS optic on it, so they may be trying to position it as a drone killer, although that's not finalized. One person also told me this is contingent on if the MG4 LMG is used instead of the MG5, while 2 others told me it was a thing with no caveats, while another said they're still figuring it out, so I may have caught this thing on the ground floor. However, except for the people who told me about this specific practice, almost everyone else told me that DMR use is extremely rare at the squad level, especially after company snipers were consolidated within a battalion platoon. Maybe in the platoon HQ if anything, but in general, DMR use depends a lot on the average experience level of the platoon. Whether there are enough experienced troops with a proper DMR training to man both the key weapons and DMRs. If it's a relatively young platoon, probably not. Rounding out the dismounts, the 2 riflemen are armed with Panzerfaust 3s. The newest version has a DM72A1 tandem heat warhead. One of them could be left behind in the vehicle, kind of depends on the situation. In addition to all of this, I'm told in some units they issue P8 pistols to everyone. This seems heavily unit dependent, and even if a unit has them, it doesn't mean they're used. About 2/3 of respondents told me everyone was issued them whether they're used or not, while 1/3 said they weren't or was limited to leadership positions. Note that the German army is now in the process of fielding the G95A1 to replace the G36. It's only in very limited service right now though, and these things take time. They're also procuring the Steyr GL40 grenade launcher alongside it. Although ironically, because some units have gotten the rifle before the grenade launcher, G95 units will be stuck using the much older HK69A1 Grappi as an interim. Let's quickly compare this to the opposite end of the modernization spectrum, Marder units, and then we'll talk about the ranks of the various positions. The easy thing to understand is the squad structure is the same regardless of if it's Pumas or Marders. The first big difference though is Marder units generally use older G36A0, A1, or A2 rifles. The A0 and A1 have the original integrated 3x carry handle optic and 1x reflex sight combo, while the A2 replaces the original reflex sight with an RS-AS as seen on the MP7 and the new Hensoldt optics. Anecdotally, because Marder units don't usually have the modernized G36s, MP7 use among vehicle crews seems to be slightly more common, although they're even more likely to use the old school G36 as well. The thing with the MP7 is it's very convenient if you're not expecting to dismount, but it's another thing to keep troops trained on and sustain, so even if a unit has them in armory, they don't necessarily use them. Another difference is Marder units generally use the older HK69A1 standalone grenade launcher, formerly designated the AG40-1. Nicknamed the Grappi or grenade pistol, the AG36 was meant to replace it. However, the G36A1 modification was specifically to allow the AG36 to be fit securely on the rifle. You can do it on the A0, but it's wobbly due to not being able to affix one of the pins. I'm not sure whether compatibility issues with the original A0 is the overall issue though, because I've also seen photos of it being used alongside newer G36A2s, and it's basically a universal sentiment among those I've talked to that Marder units only use the Grappi. They probably just didn't procure enough AG36s for everyone. The 2 riflemen also get Panzerfausts, same as in Puma units. Now, as far as ranks, the Germans do a lot of things by rank ranges rather than specific ranks, and a lot of things depend on unit level training, which introduces additional variants. Firstly, because of the time it takes to get recruits through training, during which time they have a rank, the lowest practical rank of the non-leadership positions is Obergefreiter. Depending on the unit, this could be Hauptgefreiter for the gunner and drivers, which is 1 level up due to the additional training for those positions, although I've heard both ranks being referenced as the floor. All of these positions usually go up to Oberstabsgefreiter, which before 2021 was the most senior enlisted rank. They did introduce corporals and staff corporals that year to give more career headroom to super long-serving enlisted. Such things are common in continental Europe. However, these are so rare due to limited slots per company that it's hard to say anyone could be one. Generally 1 or 2 per platoon could be one of the corporal ranks, but they'd usually be a troop leader. As for leadership, the deputy troop leader could be as low as Hauptgefreiter, still pretty junior but also not the newest guy there. They're often a higher ranking Stabsgefreiter or Oberstabsgefreiter as well. Further, if there are NCO candidates in the platoon, basically entry-level cadets getting on-the-job training before they become a Feldwebel, they could be a deputy troop leader. They're usually Unteroffiziere or Stabsunteroffiziere with an additional Feldwebel candidate braid on top of their insignia, denoting 1 and 2 years time in service respectively. It takes 3 years to become a Feldwebel. Otherwise though, there are no normal Unteroffiziere in rifle squads. It's more of a specialist and administration rank. Troop leaders are similar, although they're meant to be full NCOs. Although the average is Feldwebel or Oberfeldwebel, the extreme low end could be Hauptgefreiter. Arguably too low depending on who you ask, others say the lowest they usually see is an Oberstabsgefreiter. They can also be Feldwebel candidates, and in theory, the ceiling would be Hauptfeldwebel. Squad leaders, meanwhile, are Feldwebel to Hauptfeldwebel. Stabsfeldwebel is also possible, but in that case, they're usually the deputy platoon leader. In German doctrine, generally one of the squad leaders is also the platoon 2IC. Note that this is their second most senior NCO rank, and they also have NCO platoon leaders and sergeant majors as well. The rank inflation is real. It's like the 1950s US Army. Moving on to boxer units, they're almost identical to Panzergrenadier units, but with an infantry twist. First, the squad has one additional rifleman. On the ground, this allows for the boxer squad to be split into one 3-man troop under the squad leader and one 4-man troop under the deputy squad leader. The squad leader's troop consists of the machine gun team, while the deputy squad leader has the rifleman by default, although this can naturally be task organized. The squad leader could take the Panzerfaust troop or Sturm element in the assault, while he delegates the Deckungselement, the machine gun team, to the deputy squad leader. As well, if the task is hunting armor, the squad leader could take everyone except for the machine gun team and leave the latter in the vehicle. Second, as alluded to, the squad leader leads the dismounted element, while the vehicle commander is either an NCO or very senior enlisted. The deputy squad leader who also dismounts can also be an NCO, although they could also be a senior enlisted or a Feldwebel candidate, similar to the troop leader in the Panzergrenadiers. The vehicle commander generally has a higher rank ceiling though, on par with the squad leader. In fact, the deputy platoon leader could reasonably be either a squad leader or vehicle commander depending on what they're more proficient with. Otherwise though, very similar to the Panzergrenadiers. The same caveats on weaponry apply, although in boxer units, the G36Ks are mainly first dibs weapons for the senior NCOs and platoon leaders. This means if a unit has them, they should go to the squad leader. I'm told sometimes vehicle commanders try to hog them, but since they don't really dismount by default, they aren't really super useful to them. MP7s are also meant to be crew weapons, although full-length G36 rifles are common for crews as well, especially if some crew dismount. The fact that boxer units have a dedicated commander when their vehicle only has a caliber 50 heavy machine gun or 40mm grenade launcher is in itself a little unusual, but I'm told the trendy thing with boxers is to take after the Panzergrenadiers, whose doctrine and equipment necessitates it. To put these squads into a platoon context, both boxer and Panzergrenadier platoons consist of 4 vehicles with 3 proper squads. The 4th vehicle includes a Zug troop or platoon troop. In the past, they've kind of been mini squads charged with the close security of the platoon leader, messenger duties, and support when needed. In boxer units, I'm told this is meant to include a normal 3-man crew, the platoon leader, platoon troop leader, radio operator, 2 drone operators, and a runner. Although if a unit is under strength, this is probably the first thing that takes a hit. I've been told by others they can also man support weapons, such as the MG5 and 2 Panzerfausts like a regular squad, although to the discomfort of the lone machine gunner. The Panzergrenadier version is slightly smaller, generally just 2 additional Nahsicherer or close security soldiers for protecting the platoon leader and their RTO, although nowadays they're the natural candidates to operate drones. The drone is meant to be a Mikado on paper, which is an air robot AR-100 quadcopter. However, I've also been told the Mikado is quote-unquote dog shit, so multiple have also told me that they've made some unit purchases of Autel or DJI drones. As these are smaller, it can allow for some units to add a dedicated drone operator to the Panzergrenadier platoon troop. If you found this informative, you'd love what's over on my Patreon. Patrons and channel members get access to exclusive videos, Discord server access where I post my research and works in progress, and other benefits. I'll see you over there.